I also hate it when stuff breaks. So I had a tuner that broke once on stage, and I was tuning between like open C and some other horrid tuning. And basically when it did, it left me no reference notes. Like I was just there. And this was before cell phones. So I was just screwed. And I backed my car over that tuner because I was so pissed that it just did that. It was just, that is not happening again. I'm never buying that tuner again. So it is now the Boss pedal tuner, never getting another one. So
did it feel kind of justified and good when you backed over it?
I won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the last word. Yeah.
Hello, people of the world. Welcome back to another episode of Sam's Sessions. We're back here in the Acoustic A Room of South Austin Music. Today is another very special day. You got the host, the world's worst interviewer, and to my right, Jenny Reynolds.
Hi.
How you doing, Jenny?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing not too bad. It's been a fun day. It's always
Yay.
a fun day being back here.
Yeah.
So I was going kind of all the way back, getting ready for this interview, and I saw that you're from Boston.
Yeah.
And you said you just got back from playing a show in Boston.
I just got back from playing a show with Jess Klein up in at Club Passim in Harvard Square in Boston. You still can't park anywhere near it. They're doing fine up there. We had beautiful weather, great turnout. Jess Klein is awesome. She used to live here in Austin.
Okay.
She was living over in that Wilson Street cottage complex with some of our other good friends before they put an evil condominium on top of all that. But yeah, we had a great time. Haven't really gigged up there as much as I'd like, but it is a little bit hard to get up there from here. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. What made you decide to go from Boston to here, Austin?
So in 2003, I was working for a record label. I'd been there like 2 years. Tone Cool. We had North Mississippi All-Stars, Susan Tedeschi, and Rick Holmstrom, who plays guitar for Mavis Staples now. And I got laid off, and I'd been coming down here to play. I met people from Texas and Kerrville, the festival, at Folk Alliance in Vancouver like a year before. So I was down here playing a bit, and then... I don't know. I like twang a little more than your average Boston person. So I came down here to tour more. And then when I got laid off, I thought, well, I'll just come down here for a couple of years. I thought it would be a couple of years, and next year it'll be 20. So the twang is really that strong here. Yeah.
Yeah, Austin kind of has its way of holding people here.
Yeah.
Was it like the decision purely based off touring and music, or was there any other outside aspects that drew you to this
Well,
place?
it was also a relationship that, that's always somewhere that's always a reason. But,
Yeah.
I think the music feels like the music and the ethic of the community feels like a better fit. And I'm not going to say anything. The Boston community is terrific.
Right.
But it's more about the songwriter, whereas I think down here the emphasis is more on the song. So that's kind of where I put my own, I'm the person who's lucky enough to perform the song,
Yeah.
but the song is more important than me. And I think that might be more how it is down here. And up there, the songwriter is king. That's okay too. It's just a different philosophy. It's an apple and an orange. Yeah.
It's very interesting, way to think about it. I haven't thought about it that way before. Is it fair to say you kind of got your start at like open mics in Boston?
Yeah, I used to ride my bicycle to them before I owned a car. I swear the cab drivers were like aiming for me. Used to play Irish session bands that had like, tin whistles and fiddles and stuff, and I would have like an open tuning and 2 or 3 chords and was like in the back and not doing anything fun at all, except maybe drinking Guinness. But then I was in college up there, and a guy did like open mics in college, and that led to more gigs. And at Boston University, I opened for Michelle Schacht, which was great fun. And if I remember properly, the power went out during that show, and we both wound up playing like acoustically in front of the audience, which is actually really cool.
Interesting.
It was fun, yeah. So yeah, I played in college. That got me after college and grad school. I went to into the open mic scene, which got me into Club Passim Yeah, it was great fun. Boston was very good to me. The first record I did was nominated for a Boston Music Award, and that's still
Wow.
in my press kit because I still think that's a great scene.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool.
And I still like the Boston Red Sox too. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Never die. Um, the open mic scene. So I have like experience with like comedy open mics here in Austin, and I don't know how different it is. Just music open mics in general, but all the way in Boston, I don't know how different it is. But here it can be really brutal at times and hard to keep moving forward. Did you experience some of that in Boston?
Yeah, it's survival of the fittest, and I think the business has always been kind of Darwinian. If you're not going to cut it, you're not going to cut it. But in college, I also played in the subway station and at Auditorium, Heinz Convention Center Auditorium, which is basically near Back Bay. It's kind of near Berkeley, and that's not an open mic, of course. But if you're bad, they're not going to listen to you. They're going to let you know you're bad, and it's kind of a crap gig if you're bad because I mean,
Man,
you're basically like sitting down there with rats, and it depends on the time of day you're there, but subway gigs will make you prepared for just about anything. The biggest challenge, of course, would be to write a song that is exactly the length of time between the trains, and I think that's pretty impossible. Try as hard as you want, but you really have to sustain yourself without any scene or like atmosphere. You just have to really be about yourself and the song there and just do your thing. And you also have to have one of those Mighty Mouse amplifiers with a really huge battery. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's man, I can't imagine. Where does the drive come from at that time to keep moving forward with it?
Same
have
place
faith.
the drive comes from now, which is, I mean, I'm not playing subway stations or open mics, but I love doing this. I love what I do. I love, I feel like whether you're playing a bus station, an open mic, or the Saxon Pub, or the Cactus, or I don't know, Carnegie Hall, you have to bring what you do to every place you play. And so long as you do that and you love what you do, it sort of doesn't, the rest of it just doesn't really matter. I don't know. When I finish a gig, I'm elated. It's great. I have a little trouble relaxing because I'm just so charged up. At the same time, I'm kind of an introvert, so people are exhausting. So there's usually a really big pitfall shortly after that. So, I get very tired because I get, interested in putting everything out. But I also tend to write hard songs, so I'm thinking a ton, and I'm playing fingerstyle and singing lyrics over it, trying to remember lyrics, melody, what my fingers are doing. It's a thing.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah.
A lot of practice and dedication goes into it.
2 hours a day on top of a full-time job.
Really?
Which is like, I'm a total social loser because I practice my head off. Yeah.
Did you did you tell yourself I need to put 2 hours a day into this at a
Yes.
certain point?
And I divide, there's 20 minutes of some kind of scale warm-ups, and then I start with the easier songs and go to the harder ones.
Wow.
Writing is on top of that because most people will tell you writing is not the same as practicing. But yeah, I got to warm my hands up. I got to play the hard stuff. Play a set list in order sometimes to just kind of get used to the switches between songs, switching instruments, switching capo positions, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Musicians, certainly a lot of them can kind of be all over the place and miscellaneous in the way they do things. Would you attribute like a lot of the skill you have and success you've had to that kind of regimented 2 hours a day, 20 minutes on the scales? And
Yeah, I had some great teachers. I had a teacher in high school, Mr. Stowens, who he left teaching about 15 years ago, and now he runs a family business in Mexico, in Oaxaca, that sells music stands. But when I was a kid in high school, I played drums in the jazz band because there were too many guitar players. So I bought myself a Tama Swing Star and a Gretsch maple snare, and I was thinking I was all badass and playing 9/8, playing Blue Rondo alla Turca, which was like kind of pumping my blood for a year. But Mr. Stowens, who was kind of a combination of Beethoven and, Lurch from the Addams Family, he had this like way of glaring at you that was like, even if you didn't do anything, he thought you did or implied you did, and you were scared. So you left there and practiced like a fiend. So you kind of have to like have an idea of what you're going to do. The first thing he did was improve my tuning because I rushed through tuning, when I was in high school because I just want to play.
Mm.
But, he centered me, sat me down and got me centered, and just we went over tuning, and I
Wow.
thought, yeah, I know how to tune. And he's like, actually, you don't. Or if you do, you're not really putting the time into it. But,
Uh-huh.
when you're 15, there's never enough time to play all the notes as fast as you can, as loud as you can, as often as you can. So, I had to sit down and learn how to be patient.
Yeah,
So,
it's interesting. Um, so this is a question I like just asking songwriters in general, because I find it pretty fascinating. You like kind of briefly brought up a relationship earlier.
mhm.
Do you ever find yourself as a songwriter like putting yourself in positions that maybe aren't the best for you, but you might get like a good piece of art out of it or a good song out of it?
Yeah, sometimes I think, and this is probably going to get me into trouble, but not currently. I think that the song has to be honest. Mary Gaucher taught a songwriting class a long time ago, maybe 30 years ago at Passim. It was titled something like "Tell the Truth and Make It Rhyme." And in the middle of it, she encouraged everybody to write a song about something you're afraid of. And throughout the whole lesson was this just message of you need to be honest. Or
Mm.
if you're not telling your truth, tell someone else's truth. But you have to utter a truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you do have to do that. And it is going to get me into trouble probably on the next record. It didn't get me into trouble on the current record, but I wrote a song that I was literally afraid to play because it just kind of tore me up to play it. So my wife died like 5 years ago. I wrote a tune about that,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't get through it for like 2 months. I played it for Betty Sue and Steve Brooks. And that was the first time I played it for anybody, and it just about killed me to play it in my living room for them. So, yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
have to do that, and when you do, it will eventually pay you back for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
The time it takes for you to sit down and connect to the creative side of you and write another song will take less time if you are better connected to yourself. That happens through honesty.
Yeah. It's I've said it before, but it's definitely one of my favorite things about musicians is their ability to have like a tragic event happen and they turn it into something beautiful that everyone can enjoy.
It's. I think that's true. I would think that a lot of us that play, we kind of function like double stick tape. We don't get to choose what sticks. So, we always. I think we're the people that walk into a room and we have empathy for that person across the room, and you can tell is just about getting broken up with, or
Mhm.
it's just had a crap day or something, and you just kind of feel what they're feeling. And I think we do have to kind of be the messengers for
Yeah.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really really interesting thing. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. It's good to hear. I think a lot of other people need to hear it too cuz they might have similar ways to go about it but not are able to put in words.
This does not take away from the fact that the entire use of poetry and music and art of any kind is to get dates. There's like no hiding that at all. This is not about, it's definitely not about money. If you want to increase the likelihood of having any kind of a social life, yeah, there you go.
That's where I've been going wrong. I see. I need to learn how to
Yeah.
play guitar better.
Right,
That's my
yeah.
problem.
Oh, you play guitar. No one else in town plays guitar.
Oh man. So is your songwriting process always kind of the same or does it happen completely different for every song? A little bit of both?
So it's changed a lot in the last 5, 6 years, and it's a great question. And by the way, so far I think you're a fabulous interviewer.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I started kind of kicking myself in the butt playing guitar about 7, 8 years ago. Really bumped up fingerstyle, but started applying it to semi-hollow.
Mm.
And part of that was working with Mark Hallman and Andre Moran at then Congress House Studio. Of course, they're now at Cedar Creek Recording. But basically what happened is I started playing semi-hollow and I started playing licks more. And now I'm actually playing a few leads, which is different. But what it did was mean when I'm writing, I can't play at the same time. So now a lot of the time I'll I'll write the music first, record it, and I'll go back over it to get lyrics out of me. So that I don't have to deal with the task of playing at the same time I'm trying to come up with lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big change, and that happened 5-6 years ago, really. Yeah.
Did it happen like naturally or?
No, I didn't. It was kind of unusual, and I was frustrated trying to get lyrics out. And finally, I'm just like, I'm gonna just record this because I can't. But I'd be listening to it in the grocery store because I'm trying to like get get in my head. And then I just came home, and I didn't pick up the guitar. I kept listening to the recording. So it was organic, but it was a pretty big shift. And I didn't sit down and say, oh, well, I'll try this. I just kept wanting to hear it, and I couldn't hear it and write at the same time.
How interesting. Your song, Any Kind of Angel.
Yeah.
That was a really, really cool song. I enjoyed
you.
listening to that. Do you know like where the idea for that song came from?
Yeah. So you probably already figured out I'm a nerd. I went to a lumber store to get scraps of cedar to put in I still have a couple of wool sweaters. I don't wear them down here very often, but down here they're like a jacket,
Yeah.
So I pick up cedar for the remaining wool items that I have. And at the time it was like '09. There was a drought. It might have been the drought after that, but basically this was a family-owned lumber shop, and they couldn't get 10-foot boards anymore for a while because the drought caused trees to fall and break in the middle. So the drought was hurting their business, which reminded me, in New England, farms and fishermen, red tide will keep the family business down, and a drought or a flood will kill a farm. So you have like any family business that is weather dependent will just go to hell if you have a drought or a flood, any kind of natural disaster. So what happens to the family if the family business is shot? So that's what got me there for that. That song is basically about what happens to a family when there's nothing left in the well. So, and I've always wanted to write a song about fishermen, and that might still happen because ages ago, Billy Joel's song "Downeaster Alexa" just got stuck in my ears for a long time. This is very true. It's very true. And, if you ever saw The Perfect Storm or you read the book, there are families that own those boats, or there are families that put their kids or their husbands on those boats. And every day they come home after being 40 miles out trying to buy, to catch fish that goes on your plate. But, they're risking their lives going out doing that. So it is about desperation. I don't think in my own life, I didn't know desperation like that song has in it until a few years later. But definitely that's where that song came from. And the idea about a natural disaster like a drought affecting a family business just came from overhearing a conversation in that lumber yard. Double stick tape.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's especially interesting to me because earlier you kind of described yourself as an introvert, but I mean, really, it seems like you're a mega empath. And I guess you can't be one without the other necessarily, but I guess, do you find yourself being more of an empath through the music and that's why you are? Or does it seem more of a natural thing?
I don't know. I mean, I think I listen more than I talk, or if I'm talking fast, I'm usually nervous and I'm saying stuff that I think will keep you from wanting me to say other shit. So I don't know. I think if there's more than two people in the room, then I can usually be quieter. And if I listen hard enough, I'll catch the things that, someone will offer that might wind up in a song.
Yeah.
But definitely the human condition is always going to give us something for a song. Because we're always getting dumped. We're always getting lifted up by something. Something is always happening that sticks or just plain hurts or makes us feel great. I don't know. But getting back to that date thing, if you get a yes, but yeah, I guess I don't know, the introvert thing and the empath thing. I don't know how they're related, but they might be hand in hand.
And maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm totally wrong where introverts tend to be more of empaths, and I just had it wrong in my head where I would think if you're an introvert, you're not so much of an empath.
I kind of feel like I think Patty Griffin writes these kinds of words too, where you get the feeling she walks into a room and she literally feels everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of us suffer from like atmospheric depression, because it's not, maybe not a chemical thing, but it's more like you walk into a room and if you just feel everything that people are putting out, it can be a real burden. I got enough of my own shit. I don't need somebody else's shit too. But The other side of that is sometimes it's easier to write a song about somebody else's day than your own. So
Right.
it's not your pain. You can probably express it more freely and not get into trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, thank you for sharing all of that.
Mm.
Kind of a bit of a lighter note here. You got your music featured on ABC's All of My Children?
Yeah, my first record, my first record didn't have a barcode because it came out in '98, and back when barcodes cost like $8,000 or $10,000, and so if you want my first record, I have to actually sell it to you in person or through the mail.
Wow.
Every song on there got on General Hospital, All My Children, and One Life to Live for 3 years. At the time, I was teaching high school English. I
Uh-huh.
had a homeroom, so I had to be there at 7, and I had a 1 hour commute. And I was still playing bass in a bad punk band, which I'm never doing again. So I would get home at like 4 and I have to be at work at like 7. And I had like a 1 hour commute. So I'm like, if there was a way to have coffee intravenously, I was trying really hard. But I wrote those tunes. The record came out. It was produced by Tom Eaton. And I met a lady named Barbara Jordan, who at the time owned Heavy Hitters Music, and she put it on soap operas. So I went from teaching full time to being a substitute, and then subbing was a little more than I could handle with the music schedule. Basically, the bottom fell out of the licensing industry when people stopped saying, they just said you can have my song. And I
Mm.
think it was pretty much with Grey's Anatomy. So there were no more licensing fees, and all you get now are through the performance rights organizations. And that turned me into a person who wants to make sure that musicians are paid. So that is why I don't take free gigs, because free gigs are not free gigs. Free gigs mean I spent money on gas getting there and you owe me. So
Mm.
I make sure that when I play with people, we get paid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. I forget who it was. It was one of the like first maybe 5 interviews we did, but someone was talking about how some musicians will be willing to take even like the $20 gigs or like the $30 gigs, and he kind of said that it's not entirely the venue who's putting them on fault. It's like the musicians for accepting that like low amount of pay, and they should know their worth a little bit more.
I think you have to. I mean, you have to really sit down and say, I know you love doing this, but if you undersell everyone else, you're kind of kicking us all where the
Mm.
sun don't shine. So you just can't do that. We are worth a ton. This industry brings billions of dollars to this city.
Mm-hmm.
It brings billions of dollars to this state. And frankly, it makes people's day better. So, there is there is a net worth to that. We just finished ACL. What did that do for our city?
Yeah.
We have the Austin City Limits TV show. What does that do for our city? And what does it do for PBS?
Mm-hmm.
So just because you love what you do does not mean you should not be compensated for it. We need to make sure that every type of artist, musician, painter, everything, we need to make sure they're all compensated. So I do a Williams night. You guys know that I produced the tribute to Hank and Lucinda.
Mm-hmm.
South Austin Music sponsored Williams night, which meant that I did not have to pay the upfront expenses on my own. And we could start the virtual tip jar for the musicians. And that means that if you agree to play Williams night, you're going to get somewhere between 40 and $100 based on tips. And then the rest of the money from the door charge goes to the Sims Foundation. So we benefit Sims, but we're not leaving our musicians out to dry.
Yeah, that's super
So
cool. As a as someone who's done as many gigs as you, both on your own and with bands, do you prefer to collaborate or to do solo?
It's funny. In the last few years, that answer has changed. I would have told you I would liked both, but I like bands better now because I feel a
Yeah.
little less exposed. Also, it's fun if there's a bass player that I don't have to hold down the bass anymore, and I'm used to
Mm.
finger style, so I have to train myself to not use my thumb on the fifth or sixth string.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really fun to try call and response with other instruments. Oliver Steck's been playing with us for a little while now, and we can work out parts of the song where we do a call and response.
Yeah.
Or if I just cut out guitar entirely and let rhythm and Oliver play up, then I can just use my voice and there's a little more space. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have you don't have that kind of play when you play solo. You can just cut out guitar and sing a cappella, but
Yeah.
they don't have the dynamics you do, and it's kind of fun. But I did cut my teeth playing solo, and I think that's helped me. I'm pretty good. Like, you can scare me now, and I'm not gonna run. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right
Kind
doing
of
that.
kind of built up a spine a little bit.
A little bit.
so
Well,
to
it's the
speak.
subways. There were a lot of rats. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's totally crazy. I'm excited to see what you have in the case here, and it makes me think of my next question. You always seem like you're just on the hunt for like really cool gear, and you have a lot of really cool gear. Is that something has it always been that way, or has it slowly become that for you?
The only thing I know that's always been that way is that I've never been someone who wanted a practice instrument or a practice amp and then different equipment for a gig, because if you only practice with stuff, how do you know what condition your gig equipment is in? And then I think there's a bit of an ethic of buy it right the first time, which is kind of the New England effect. Is like, I don't want to pay a ton, and I generally try to, well, you guys know I try to talk you down, but you have to kind of, I do practice a buy it right the first time, because I don't really want to spend a lot of time buying or fixing instruments. I hate buying cases. I hate buying insurance even more. And I really don't like fixing shit. So it'll take me a while to buy something. Like, I have a couple of Collings acoustics and a Gibson 359, and the Collings took multiple years to buy, but that's as it should be. They're selling a quality instrument. Taylor, Martin, and Gibson, they all sell quality instruments, and everybody knows you get what you pay for. Put down the money, see how far it gets you, but don't be afraid to ask your fan base to chip in for the thing that you need to get you down the road, whether it's a recording or a better instrument. Go do that house concert and tell the person who's hosting it you're trying to get a better instrument. Use that income specifically for that instrument. All of your publicity for that house concert can go to, I want a resonator guitar.
Wow.
P.S. I'm sort of curious about that. I'm looking at a pretty nice resonator over there. So, no, I do. I think you gotta, I don't own a lot of guitars. And not too long ago, I had sold Dreadnoughts. I sold a Mackie 808 and a Fender Strat. Pretty much here too. I think the Fender Strat was the American-made 40th anniversary edition with the maple neck. It was nice. I bought it at Wurlitzer in Boston on layaway, and every time I went in there, this guy was like, "Is this for your boyfriend?" And I'm like, no. But no, I think you got to buy it right the first time and use the hell out of it. Don't coddle your instruments, and don't have practice gear versus gigging gear. I think the only difference would be if you have like really huge room amplifier, like a deluxe reverb or like a cherry bomb or something, or smaller room amplifier. Really, the sound guy can make up for a lot of that difference, I think. But no, I think that might be the way I practice things. I also hate it when stuff breaks. So I had a tuner that broke once on stage, and I was tuning between like open C and some other horrid tuning. And basically when it did, it left me no reference notes. Like, I was just there, and this was before cell phones, so I was just screwed. And I backed my car over that tuner because I was so pissed that it just did that. It was just, that is not happening again. I'm never buying that tuner again. So it is now the Boss pedal tuner, never getting another one. So
did it feel kind of justified and good when you backed over it?
I won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the last word. Yeah. You're going to do that to me, I'm going to do this to you.
Oh, man, I can see that image so clearly in my head. It's awesome.
It wasn't a heavy car. It was only like a VW, but damn, I think I let it sit on that thing for a little while. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
As you should. Okay, so kind of the final like interview style question here. We get people that come in all the time saying that you referenced them to us. And I'm curious, what about South Austin music is special to you?
I send people to South Austin Music, occasionally to Austin Vintage, because they are locally owned businesses. And we want to keep the music economy, the local money stays local. I I have bought some things outside of our economy, but I do try to keep what I buy in the local economy. And I think there's a reason to do that for everything. It's if you go to Walmart, you're benefiting Walmart. If you buy an instrument from a local dealer, you're probably contributing to the owner's kids' braces.
Yeah.
If you want to better your own economy, keep the money in your own economy.
Yeah, that's really
Plus,
cool.
this is a great store, and I mean, I don't know. You could like Bob Schneider comes in here. Like, there's people that come in here, and I always make sure I got a clean shirt on or something. But
Never know what might happen.
friends don't let friends go to Guitar Center. Sorry, is that bad?
No.
That's awesome.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Warranted.
Yeah.
All right, so for the next part, we'll jump to rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
Kind of this or that. Alrighty. Are you a night owl or morning person?
Night owl.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we've ever had a musician say morning person yet.
I have to get up in the morning.
Eric was like, used to be, now I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
But mostly thought like night owl.
Yeah.
I have to get up in the morning, but there's like coffee for that. And I'm not usually held responsible for stuff I do in the morning. Like, I'm not landing planes, so that's good. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you shouldn't be allowed to drive before 9 a.m.
I'm also guilty of waking up in the middle of the night and just wanting to play guitar.
Really?
It's just, if you're bored and you're awake, why the hell not? You know?
Yeah, that's cool. Man, I wish I could do that. I wake up in the middle of the night and I go on my phone.
Oh, no, put your phone down, man.
I know.
Yeah.
I need to. Wise words from Jenny today. Debit or credit?
Debit.
Yeah.
188 in $188 now in debt. Yeah. But I sold all that stuff, and the amp I just bought from you guys, I sold that flight case, and I sold I bought Danny Britt's deluxe reverb, and I sold it back to him, and that's what bought that amp. So I'm not collecting anything I don't use. Nothing hangs on the wall in my house that I'm not using. No debt. I think that's actually, if you buy into the idea of the parlay, anything that you put into the business should come from what you get out of the business. You won't get into trouble.
Yeah.
And it's better to live like that than to go too far the other way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you like the nature or city better?
That's a tough one. I'm kind of a country mouse, but I've become acclimated to the conveniences of the city life. I like my Wi-Fi and my cell phone.
Yeah.
Kind of like my bed. I've been to Kerrville recently, but I stayed in an Airbnb. It's too hot for camping in a tent.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might be a learned city mouse. I don't know. Yeah.
Got integrated into it slowly.
A little bit.
Do you have a favorite conspiracy theory?
No, I'm not really sure I have any conspiracy theories, although...
None that stick out to you?
Well, there's the big ones on the bumper stickers. They seem more like chaos theory in some ways, like that 9/11 was an inside job or stuff like that. It's too extreme for me, but no, I don't think I do.
Yeah. Soccer or football?
Wow. Okay, so I guess I would say football, but that's pretty close. I like watching people. I like watching talented people do something well, and that includes some sports, so long as they're not like spoiled brats about it. But when I was in school, my work-study job in grad school was teaching football players at Boston College, so I got to know football players. And one of the things I learned is that music and athletes, we practice to get better, and that probably gave me some of the regimen too, because there's a lot of conditioning and calisthenics, and the game is like 30% of what they do.
Yeah.
So same here. Like, there's a lot more scales than there are new songs. So there's a lot more calisthenics than actual performing.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting. Would outside of music, if you could be a professional at anything, what would it be?
Let's see. I think I might want to be a meteorologist.
Yeah.
I like the weather. I kind of like, we had a big system come in last night and I wasn't here for it, and I actually felt bad. But anytime there's like something's going on, it's kind of fun. Like when I was a kid, we had a big barometer and I knew how to read it. I also knew like what would happen to it if, and when it got to that place, I wouldn't have school the next day. So it was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
They're pretty fun to see the barometer do something different. But yeah.
Interesting. What about cat or dog?
Dog, huge dog fan. I like cats. I don't know what to do with them, but I like all animals. But my dog Oakley is she makes me a better human. I get my butt off the couch and take her for a walk. She sits on my feet. She lies on my pedal board, the one I bought here. She just flat out lies on it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, dogs are the best.
Yeah.
They really are. You like big venues or smaller venues?
That's a really good question. I tend to not. Radio interviews kind of freak me out because there's like 2 or 3 people, and I do feel like I'm under a microscope. There's a little more anonymity in a bigger venue. So I think the perfect size venue is probably the Saxon.
Nice.
And I think the intimacy from the way the room is laid out is really nice. And it's not a church coffee house or something. You don't feel like you're all godded out with like, religion in your face, unless you think of whiskey as a religion. But probably that size venue where you can feel like you look someone in the eye and sing something to them that might stick in their ears on the way home.
That's cool.
I like that feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
If I could pick any other venue, though, I might be the Paramount. I would like to play there someday.
Yeah. I'm sure you will. Yeah, you
I'll
have
try.
to. You have to.
Thank you.
Okay, last this or that here. Would you rather be the first person on Earth or the last?
It's everybody.
Well, the problem with that question is like, I don't know. Probably the last, because whatever that first person did might inspire a song out of me. Or if I'm the last person, maybe there's somebody still around to hear a song, like audience.
Well, what I told the last person was, if you're the first person, there's probably not any guitars around.
Well, that won't do. Yeah. That will not do. Yeah. So somebody got to build one, and then I'll be there.
Yeah.
But
and
so I guess last.
You have access to all the gear.
Yeah. Last. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Jenny, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
This. Really, really appreciate it.
Sure.
If we can get you to stick around, do a little performance for us, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
But seriously, it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yay. She left home like a shooting star across the sky in her daddy's car. Silver light and a thumbnail moon. I watched her go, my only girl. She met a man and found the world. Ran away like lovers do. Can be a dusty hell when there ain't nothing in the well. Hasn't rained out here for years. The creek is dry, the cattle's gone. The bank says we are overdrawn. She had to go relive my fears. Clouds come, they don't keep their promise. Feel the but the sky won't let go. Send me any kind of angel when I'm crying. Want someone to know. All my family's ever known, every day and birth to bone. Build a life from a farm. Sow the seed, take only what you know you need. Never did no one no harm. Clouds sky won't let go. Send me any kind of angel when I'm crying. Want someone to know. Ain't no hope like a farmer's hope, every day and note for note. Always looking to next year. There ain't no love like a mother's love, no matter what her child has done. Love your own